Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. And oh my God, guys, I have a most special episode for you. And to help introduce this special episode, and is you could say the godfather of this episode, joining me here today to talk about this is George from the former George and Tony Entertainment Show. Hey, George.
Hi, Eric. Hello, everybody. And Eric, I like to refer to it as the still defunct,
yes.
George and Tony Entertainment Show. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Wow. That George and I just got off of a Skype interview with the creators of the fantastic Aftershock series, Rough Riders.
I'm still on a high.
Yeah. It's amazing. It was amazing. And
this is a timey-wimey thing where we're commenting on it before you guys get to hear it, but trust me, you're going to get to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to give the listeners just if you don't mind, George, a little bit of a background on this. And then they can listen to the interview, and then we got some more words at the end to talk about. So stick around for that after the interview, folks. But so originally, I love this story. Originally, George and I were going to get together and talk about Rough Riders because George introduced me, I think, during one of the early previews episodes that you were on.
I think you're right.
A couple of years ago, George, where maybe you asked me, am I reading Rough Riders or whatever? I don't recall now, but you introduced that series to me. I mean, I'd seen it in previews before, and it very much interested me. There we go. I'm all aghast from the interview. But I decided to wait until the trade. Stupid me. Because, like I said, we were going to get together and just talk about how great of a series this was, and because I fell in love with it. I mean, even before this interview thing came up, I really dug this series. So, George, thank you so much for introducing me to this. But then something even more fantastic happened. So George and I are getting prepared to record this episode. And just out of the blue, well, maybe you should jump in here. So George did something that caused this interview to happen. So why don't you jump in and tell this story now?
Okay, much to the chagrin of my former co-host, Tony, I would always get us into a little bit of trouble. And I suggested to Eric, hey, should we try to reach out to Adam Glass, the writer, or Patrick Olliffe, the artist of Rough Riders, and see if they would like to come on and talk about the book. And we figured we would do it half the episode would be an interview, half an episode would be talking about the book. When Eric got to the point where he was ready to record the episode,
and wait, let me interject here first, George. Yeah. George doesn't know this.
Oh,
this is news to him. Mm-hmm. Honestly, George, I had no idea that could ever happen.
Oh,
it was like pie in the sky, things like that. I was like, there's no way that they agreed to talk to us about this, right?
And for as much as social media is out there and ways to contact creators and publishers, I had always felt funny trying to engage people in the public forum. I always wanted to do it in a private forum to invite them to be on my show and to extend the invitation to your show. I didn't know the avenue to take privately. So as the time for our recording was approaching, I told Eric, I'm sorry, Eric, I didn't reach out because I didn't know how to reach out, and I just didn't want to put it out there. Well, here I am taking my well-known, very famous hypocrisy pills, because when Eric tweeted that he was getting ready to record said episode, I piggybacked and did a retweet and invited Adam Glass and Patrick Olliffe to join us. never expecting a response, B a response from both. And Adam Glass was kind enough to respond and say, we've never had the entire team together, and if all of the guys will get together, I'm in. And then that's when the snowball started to roll down the hill. And I think Gabe, the colorist, Gabe Eltaeb, the colorist, he might have jumped in second.
Probably.
And said, I'm in.
Yeah, I think so.
I think he said something like, what? Talk about Rough Riders? Are you kidding me? I'm in. And then Pat was on, and then Sal Cipriano, the letterer, came on, and we had the Beatles, basically. And we then it was a matter of, oh my God, what do we just get ourselves into? Because it's one thing to interview one person, maybe two, but to have four people that you are going to talk to takes a certain bit of skill. And Eric, thank God you have the skill, because I certainly do not, because I never did it on my show. We worked very closely with Lisa Wu over at Aftershock.
Yes, thank you, Lisa, for this, because she just jumped in and made it happen. I mean, it's one thing for you to tweet at them and the guys to say, yeah, that'd be great, as you know, if we get everybody together. But it was really Lisa who got the band together for us, so to speak.
Well, let's put it this way: we had to figure out a time. And how else could we have done it unless we had a central figure? And Lisa proved to be that central figure.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we needed that because in Adam's case, Adam is in California. Gabe is in Colorado. He was in Colorado.
He's visiting Colorado, at the time, yeah.
Patrick, you know something? I don't know where Patrick is. Is he in New York? I'm not quite sure where Patrick is.
Yeah, I don't.
I know Sal's in New York.
Yes.
But Patrick, I'm not quite sure where he was calling from. But right there, everybody is spread out, different time zones. To wrangle all six of us, we need Lisa to take care of that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
But that's how we got here.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And this is why Tony left the show. And that's why I don't have a show anymore, because I would pull stunts like this.
Well, it was a very fruitful stunt. George, because I'm still amazed that we had this conversation with those four creators of Rough Riders. It was as my listeners may know, I have a lot to say about things, and the reason I do is because I take copious notes, and I know some of my co-hosts in the past have been the unwitting participants of these long-winded discussions about the things that I love about the particular comics we're discussing. And I was about to unleash that on George with our discussion of Rough Riders Volume 1. But while I had like 2 pages of notes to go over with these gentlemen, I barely even really touched on them because they have such a camaraderie. I mentioned this in the interview a couple of times, I think. Such a great relationship with each other that it was just like put them into a Skype call or a room or whatever, and they were just talking to each other and talking about the process, which I absolutely love.
Yes.
I love it when the comic creators just are so open and free discussing how they work together, why they work together, what's so great about each other. I just love that. That positivity is just something that I really dig. And we got that in spades.
It's amazing how that team got put together.
Yeah. And how well they work together. And I think, George, I'll have to go back and listen to this, as you will in just a minute. I think that Adam said that this is the first time that they have all gotten together like this, not just to talk about the book, but just to, I don't know, just be able to talk to each other all at once like that. Mm-hmm. So this was a first for them too.
Right.
I mean, they would, obviously they would communicate with each other in creating the book, but I don't know that they've ever think that he said that they had never done a conversation like this. So this was just fantastic.
Right. Yeah, special for us and special for them.
Exactly.
And special for you, the listener, when you get a chance to listen to it.
Yeah. So shall we just get right to it then?
Let's quit flapping our gums and let's get to...
You're not here to listen to us. You're here to listen to Adam Glass, Patrick Olliffe, Gabe Eltaeb, and Sal Cipriano discussing Rough Riders and a bunch of other things too. So I hope you really enjoy this. And come back at the end, and George and I will talk about some other things. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. My name is Eric Isaacson. I'm the host of the Long Box Review podcast. And the gentleman with the other headphones here is George.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, George.
Who used to do a podcast of his own, the George and Tony Entertainment Show.
Still defunct, as we like to say.
Yes. But George introduced me to your great work, Rough Riders, not too long ago, and we actually had planned to talk about the first volume together, and then it just kind of morphed into you guys being gracious enough to join us to talk about it.
Yeah, Adam, this is kind of your fault that everybody's here. Thank you for that.
Exactly right.
That's what happens.
We hold you responsible.
When you tweet when you're drunk. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I gave that up a long time ago.
By the way, you guys, this is the first time all four of us have ever done anything interview together. So
wow.
The Rough Riders team, as far as I know, we only know each other through email. I've never heard your voice. I've seen pictures, but that's about it. But
I thought I got all those pictures. They weren't supposed to be released to the public.
Website, Sal and Gabe, but you say no. So
hard on a few other ones. So busy as it is.
Well, I know I only have you for a little bit of time here, and I don't want to intrude on your work schedules or whatever else you've got going on.
I'm literally. Can you see the back of this Wacom drawing screen? Is it getting in the camera frame?
I am not seeing you on the camera. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, you don't see me at all?
No.
Oh,
the only one I see is Adam.
Click the button to put myself on the dang camera. There
we go.
Okay.
There you are.
I'm in a hotel room. In Colorado. My son has finals this week at CU Boulder, so I'm hanging out with him all week, and then I'm driving him home. I live in San Diego. We live in San Diego. So
nice.
What I was trying to show you is this. I can't show you the other side because it's Harlequin issue 43. I'm almost done. So
very cool.
So I'm working. I'm here visiting my son. So
I said the same thing like 2 minutes ago. I just pressed send on Teen Titans 24. So
there you go.
It was literally oh, that's right. We got this thing we got to do. And
this is
the next gig
in a hotel room 1,000 miles from your house working. So. I love it though.
Good. That's really cool that you're there with your son for this.
Oh yeah, we're best buddies. My kids, Adam knows about my kids. We talk about it all the time, and Adam's got this lovely daughter. So we relate on that a lot. I'll tell you right up front, I don't want to dominate this, but I've never been on a team like this with Pat and Sal and Adam. We're in sync and we just hit it off right away. And then Mike Martz, the great Mike Martz, our editor, it was just amazing how in sync we all work together and how well we get along. We talk football, we talk family, all this stuff in our emails. And I don't know, it's just I worked with Pat on one other thing at Dark Horse 2 years ago, but I didn't talk to him during the project. I was just coloring up Barbed Wire Revival 2-3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And as soon as I started working with these guys, it's like we'd known each other for years. That's been the most pleasurable thing about this. So.
Yeah.
But it's your interview. I won't take. I'll take over if you let me. Sorry.
Well, no, this is absolutely great. Of course. I would like to just so you guys know, we George and I plan on doing an introduction independent of this, just so we can introduce the show and give a little bit of information about Rough Riders and yourselves. But I really appreciate it if you don't mind if you could just introduce yourselves to the listeners, so they will understand who is talking when as we continue this discussion. And if you would like to say anything, like a mini bio or whatever it is that you would like to elaborate on, that would be fantastic.
All right. Is everyone here? The only people I see now are the hosts. Everyone else went away.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
So I only see you guys, and I see Gabe.
Okay. Is that Adam talking?
No, that was Pat.
Oh, this is Pat Olliffe?
It is.
Okay. I just see that self-portrait of you. So, okay.
That's me.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
I'm here. Sal's here. But
okay.
I haven't turned on my video here, so...
Is Adam still here?
I didn't know we were doing videos, but let's see.
He might come back.
Let's see, where's video?
Oh,
I think Adam has returned.
There he is.
There he is. There, I get to see. Yeah, it's starting to come together a little bit here. All right. Here you go, brother. I like the hat. DC hat. I'm talking to you, Mr. Gabe.
I didn't know who you're talking to. I'm sorry. I love it too. I got to represent. They send us so many gifts in the mail, always getting packages and all that. So
maybe the artist and colorist writers don't get shit. So
hey, we get checks that never bounce, and we get beautiful royalties. I will never. Just
right?
They're the best.
What's a royalty?
Oops.
That's the like Queen of England, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That's why I pick up the bill when we go out, Sal.
I'll keep that in mind.
And there's Sal. I
gotta start going out.
Oh my gosh! There we go. I finally get to see everybody.
Yeah, and Sal? You look like you have a professional microphone when we.
I do because I do some other podcasts.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
And Sal, you're in New York.
I am. I am in Brooklyn.
Oh, there you go. I went to Brooklyn College.
Oh, nice. It's not too far off from where I am.
There you go.
So, Sal, why don't you start out with the introduction so everybody knows your voice?
Alrighty. You just wanted me to introduce myself? What do you want me to do here?
Yes, please. Just let them know who you are and what you did for Rough Riders, and if there's maybe something else that the folks out there might know you from.
Alrighty. What up, folks? I am Sal Cipriano, the letterer of Rough Riders, and many, many other books, including DC's Detective Comics and Hellblazer, the Karen Berger books over at Dark Horse, and plenty other things that are currently under wraps.
Great. Gabe, how about you?
I'm Gabe Eltaeb. I got hired by DC Comics 10 years ago. I've been a professional artist since 2001. I worked for everybody except for Marvel. Let's see, notable stuff. Obviously, Rough Riders is one of my favorite things I've ever done. The book I colored last year, the Batman annual story, Good Boy, won the Eisner, but they don't put the colors in the letterer in. Even though I wrote the Eisner Commission and made a wonderfully persuasive argument, they told me if they added colors and letters to stories, they'd have to have everyone, which is totally untrue, but I'm not bitter about it at all. And that was the second time a book I colored won an Eisner, or at least was nominated. So I have 2 Phantom Eisners.
Gabe, you and Sal, I think, are really the unsung heroes a lot of times in situations in books like this. That's a shame that you guys don't get recognized.
You know what? It's fine. It's a privilege to do this. I'm joking. I'm never going to complain, man. I worked at Home Depot in college, and I'll never forget that. Every time I complain to myself, like, oh, yeah, you have the job that you wanted when you were 12, and they pay you a ton of money to do it. So shut up.
I, on the other hand, have a lot to complain about, but I won't do it here.
Sal, I read that you're addicted to coffee from your little bio at the back of each Rough Rider issue. So what number cup are you on at this point?
Today only 2.
Oh, okay. So we
had
you a little mellow today.
Big talker.
Yeah, right now just 2. I was a lot more, but sometimes you get some anxiety issues because you drink too much coffee, so you got to cut down a little bit. But when the deadlines are thick, you gotta have a lot of coffee. And I'm like lettering as we do this. I have one hand on my tablet on the side here.
At least it's on your tablet.
That's what he calls it, his tablet.
I know, Sal. You guys said something earlier, and I can't stress enough, and we'll talk about this more, obviously, as we get into it. But, you guys talked about all the unsung heroes in comic books. And it is really true that the colorist and the letterers make so much of our books and can make and break a book. I've done books where, unfortunately, it wasn't done well, and it really made a big difference. So I can't thank these guys enough. I know Pat feels the same way. We've talked so much about the 2 of these guys, about Gabe and Sal, and just feel really fortunate and lucky that we got a chance to all work together.
Exactly. And I think that echoes what Gabe said in the beginning, how lucky we are for all four of us to come together like this. We've all been around comics a long time. We've all had different projects we worked on, and it's been it's a rare thing to have everybody come together on a team like this, to gel like this, to have such respect for each other. It's been a great experience.
And Pat, since you were talking, how about you introduce everybody to yourself so that
Sure,
they'll know when you're speaking.
Sure. I'm Pat Olliffe. I'm a comic book artist, penciler. I've been in the industry for more years than I think I'm willing to admit. I've done projects for Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, now obviously Aftershock. I've worked on all kinds of different characters. Most people know me from Untold Tales of Spider-Man, Spider-Girl, 52, Catwoman, all the way up through Rough Riders, which really has been the in a lot of ways, I think, one of my all-time favorite projects. I think last year marked my 30th year as a comic book illustrator, and this has been one of the highlights for sure.
I remember growing up as a little kid reading Pat's books.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
I was 5 years old, and I picked up Thor Core.
Well, as it turns out, I was 5 years old when I drew it.
There you go.
That makes so much more sense.
And Adam, what about you? So that everybody knows when you're speaking.
My name is Adam Glass, and I am a writer. End of story.
Don't worry, folks. Eric will make sure that Adam delves into that a little deeper.
No, I don't want. He'll be like, "What a douchebag." I'm been really fortunate that I've written both TV, movies, and comic book. I've done shows, Cold Case, Supernatural. Criminal Minds Beyond Borders. I just did a show called The Shy, which I was really proud of, on Showtime. And in the comic book world, I got my start working with a buddy of mine, Mike Benson, gave me my break at Axel Alonso. And I started writing a book called Deadpool Suicide Kings. And that was my first book that I ever got to do. And from that, I wrote a lot of Deadpool. I wrote a lot of Luke Cage, who I also love. Growing up in New York, Luke Cage and Spider-Man and those guys were New York City heroes. So I really dug those cats. And then I went over to DC and had the pleasure to do a JLA annual. But the thing I think I became most known for was doing the Suicide Squad New 52 and putting Harley Quinn in because I'm a genius now. I had no complete luck that I turned around and just happened to really like her and think that she belonged on the team. So put her on, and then, as they say, the rest is history. And then, of course, was able to do Rough Riders, which is like, we're all saying this, and we really mean it from the bottom of our hearts, is just been one of those, experiences that I don't know if we'll ever repeat again, because you had four guys come to the table top of their game with lots of respect for each other. It's, the closest thing I guess you could say is like when you see professional athletes all play together and they just click and the team starts clicking. That's what it felt like with us. Just clicked. And I want Sal's room, by the way.
I was going to make a comment as well.
Yeah, he just popped up on my screen.
And the background of all the toys you have. I don't know what they can look at more. So
there you go.
Oh my God.
I am an action figure collector and actually action figure reviewer. That's why I have these, and I do a lot of podcasts on action figures and stuff. So it's a kind of a little known thing in the comic community that I do, but you got to have other things you do.
Well, not anymore. Really? Now that we see all that.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, Sal, that was actually one thing I noticed on your Facebook page that just jumped out at me was this action figure reviewer thing. So if we had time, I was going to ask you about that. But George and I wanted to actually, since we're talking to you, Sal, specifically right now, George thought it'd be a good idea to perhaps ask you if you wanted to give like the elevator pitch for Rough Riders, for those people who unfortunately may not know about Rough Riders or have had the pleasure of reading it. Is that something you'd like to try?
Everybody asks Adam. Come on, Sal.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, come on, Sal. This is your time to shine, man.
So I'm already 3 sheets to the wind. Take it over.
Adam's tired of telling everybody about this. It's your turn.
Oh man, I stopped pitching stuff so long ago. Yeah, so Rough Riders is awesome covert team of world famous historical figures that I'm really bad at pitching now. I'm rusty. I'm rusty.
Going south, killing it.
I'm rusty. That are just awesome.
So Adam, you're gonna let him swing, right?
No, you guys jump in. Come on, let's help him out. Yeah, Gabe.
Well, I describe it to people as it's kind of pulpy, like Indiana Jones. It's got that rough and tough, rock'em sock'em kind of thing, and it's got great characters. It's got Annie Oakley, Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight, right? And you got Harry Houdini, you got Edison the thief, and he's such a great heel in the book. Obviously, you have Roosevelt, the guy that kind of ties it all together. And the thing that is so great to me, specifically about Adam's writing on this, is what I think all stories need is the verisimilitude. This book always agrees with its own logic. It's fantastical and, there's sort of sci-fi in it, but it doesn't do that dumb thing where there's giant plot holes and you're kind of like, well, why did they do that? And the verisimilitude is just, I'm always looking for that in stories. And this thing always agrees with itself. It's always exciting and fun and upbeat and positive. The stakes are high. It's dangerous. I don't know. It's just, to me, it has the best of that, just action, exciting stuff. So I really enjoy it. And then I'm always excited to see Pat's pages because it's just, I don't know, he brings it to life. And and each character has their own distinct body language and their own, their own look. I don't know. He always has them on model and everything. It's just really, I don't know. And I gave each character a color signature. So even when they change uniforms, Annie will always have something green on. And Houdini, he always wears black, but he always has a red tie. I gave everyone a color signature just to, I don't know, since Pat led the way with the visual signature of just the illustration, I felt like I needed to always make sure that they had their little accent of color and stuff like that. So I don't know.
Early 20th century Power Rangers.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. I came back.
Can you spell that word? I'm still looking it up. What did you say?
Verisimilitude.
Man, you are a smart dude, brother. I have no idea. From the Bronx, dude. What is that? I'm looking it up right now.
It agrees with itself. It doesn't. It would be like if in the next season of Game of Thrones, with no explanation, Jon Snow had a new sidekick that was a talking Jeep Cherokee. You could write a story that way, but you have to earn it. You can't just show up with nonsense that didn't get established before, right? So
I'm with you.
So,
you mean like Westworld? Oh, taking a jab at them. Look at me.
Yeah, I love
the gloves are coming off.
I'll say that.
Hey, Adam, is that word going to work its way into the next issue of Teen Titans?
Yeah.
Say it again.
Is that word going to work its way into the next issue of Teen Titans? Damien will use it or something?
You're going to hear me say it in every interview from here out.
So, Adam, I've read some interviews that you've given and listened to a few as well, and I know that I believe you have had the idea for this particular story. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I did. Big history buff, and I turned around and, I was actually working at Supernatural at the time, and I think I just came back from a Comic-Con, and I had just done a book called Brick for Oni, and I wanted to do another IP, and I was just thinking about it. And I have, I think writers do this. We have a lot of different ideas, and you're trying to think about what you want to do, and there's certain parts of your life and times where you want to tell those stories, and I always wanted to do something about Houdini, and I always wanted to do something about Roosevelt, and I always wanted to do something about Jack Johnson, take all these things. I love that time. Love that 19th to 20th century. The Wild Bunch is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I love H.G. Wells stories, and I love Sherlock Holmes. And, just it's always been a time that's fascinated me. So the idea just sort of hit me after doing Suicide Squad of putting a team together of that time and that history and just letting them go for it, and have fun with it. And that's really sort of the way it came up. And, it was interesting. I pitched it. I had lunch. Listen to me, by the way, again. I had lunch with Jim Lee. And I pitched it to him, and I remember Jim sort of chuckled. He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, he doesn't like it. He's never going to do that idea for Vertigo. And then the second people I pitched it to was Mike Mortz and them, and they got it right away. Mike and Joe Pruitt and Lee Kramer and John Kramer. And I didn't even get up off the table. We were at the Marriott at the bar during Comic-Con.
It's actually laying on the table.
Laying on the table doing and they said we're in. And I was like, oh, wow, great. Then I had to go home and figure it out. You know, it was like one of those. I was like, oh, shit, now I got to actually write it. So luckily, I had a lot of history knowledge from college and just reading and books. I think at the time I was reading a book called what was I reading? Jeez, I was reading a story about Roosevelt going down the Amazon called The River of Doubt. And so it was right in the middle of that when this was all happening. And yeah, I just wanted to make history cool again. I saw Hamilton and saw how cool that made history. And I always talk about history to my kids. And so it was really a way to just like, you know, as the kids say, do a mashup, you know, of all the things that I love and just put it together. Right? Is that the word, Sal? Mashup? Mm?
Yeah. I think it's mashup. I think we've gotten more mashed up as we've gone too. Like, guys, you don't understand. We just ended the series like the last issue, and I was working on the lettering like in the middle of the night. I think I wrote everybody an email at like 4 a.m. Like with all these ideas that like just jumped into my head as I lettered the last page. I was like, oh my God, we got to keep going and do this. And yeah. I know we're not, but like, oh my God, I really want to do more now.
No, you really do have to keep going. Although I haven't, obviously the last issue comes out the week of this recording, right?
Yeah.
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yes. So Adam, when I read, so like I said, George introduced me to this fine series. And I've only read actually volume 1 so far. I will definitely go out and read more of it because I just fell in love with this story and these characters and this setting. And your introduction to the first volume talk a lot about the things you just referred to about history and your love of history and stuff. And that's something that I actually share with you is a love of history and reading about these interesting people. And like I think you said in the introduction, or perhaps I'm confusing one of your other interviews that I read, but basically how we have these sort of superheroes from real life, you know, like Teddy Roosevelt and the others. And I just thought, what a great way to reintroduce these people to a new generation.
Yeah. And you know, it's something that the team shares. Pat's a big history fan. I know Gabe is. I don't think Sal gives a shit, but
I actually am.
About what he did yesterday.
I'm joking. Sal totally cares. You show him the Teddy Roosevelt tattoo on your back. Go ahead. Right? But we all really care about history too. So we would have these conversations about it. So we sort of all came to it with this love of like history and these characters. And again, I think you see it in not only the writing, but in the art and the coloring and the lettering too. It sort of all comes through. So, and look, you know, Pat and I have had this conversation before too. And, you know, quick little story is there was an original artist that they wanted me to work with, really fine artist. I'm not going to say his name at all. Some guy named Jim Lee. And the guy just wasn't, I didn't feel was getting the character that I wanted the way I saw the book. And so Pat said, you know, I didn't know this time. Mike said, I think I have a guy. And I said, good, just tell him to draw Teddy Roosevelt. Cause we were getting to that point where like we needed an artist. And all of a sudden the next day, this beautiful drawing of Teddy Roosevelt, like coming alive, is sent to me. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's the guy. And that guy turned out to be a guy named Victor Lester, who was unavailable. So we got Pat. It was, it was Pat. And we were blown away. And, you know, Gabe said this earlier, every time I would get the drawings, I would just be blown away. You know, it would just make it even better. It would even heighten what I wrote and take it to a whole other level. Like I do, you know, and this is a lesson I think, you know, younger artists should look at Pat's drawings and his artwork, because he leaves no detail. There's so many books I do where the background's just washed away. Nobody cares, nothing. He'll go and find a lamppost from 1903, and the detail will be tremendous. And that's just a craftsmanship that you don't see that often anymore. And I wish we did see more of, and my hats is off to Pat for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a true labor of love.
Yeah, well, can I comment on that, on the craftsmanship?
Only if it's good stuff.
Well, you'll say.
Gabe's like, I got to clean that all up.
Exactly.
Well, but that's what I was trying to get at with my my $50 word verisimilitude is Pat had that consistency every time, and the body language and the movements and the gestures and just the look, the faces were always on model. And you read some books, and not criticizing one, but characters can kind of change. The same character can look different on different pages. And just some of the dialogue would just grab me, like each character had a voice, and Adam was able to nail it. And you knew who was talking without even looking at the name in the script. You could just tell. And I remember in, I think, Volume 2, Harry Houdini and Jack Johnson are walking down a hallway like at a can-can show or something. There's some girls in really skimpy outfits. And Jack Johnson, who's like a playful, big, like confident, swaggy guy in the book, he says, "Evening, chickadees," or something like that. He doesn't say ladies. He said, and I just thought that was like, damn. Because a regular person would have wrote "evening, ladies," but he says chickadees because he's not afraid to be embarrassed because he's got swag. And I just try to keep up with the consistency that Adam and Pat had of these characters. They're real people because they each have a voice on the script and they each have a look in the drawing. So I was like, they got to have look with the color. You know what I mean? So I was trying to keep up with these two because they are pros. So
well, I appreciate it. And I think that's part of it too, is that it comes through when I get the script. That character interaction, there are times when you get a script, and then even though it's your job to bring it to life to the best of your abilities, there are times where the story doesn't engage you. The characters don't engage you very deeply. It's something that you tried to bring to life. But Adam's scripts always had life as soon as I read them. I mean, I was reading those things like a fan reads. I couldn't wait for the next script. I couldn't wait for the next story. Exactly what Gabe said is that the character interaction that Adam had was I think was some of the most engaging parts of this project. And I think that's probably what I think clicked with a lot of readers too, is how the characters interacted with each other. He was able and I love the Harry Houdini, Jack Johnson relationship. They almost kind of had their own buddy movie going on where they all had their own adventures and their own interaction. But it was that kind of character development, character interaction that I found so engaging, made my job easier. I mean, these guys were very generous in their compliments about on how I handled these characters, but a lot of it came off the script, came off the page that Adam supplied. I mean, that certainly made my job easier. And then obviously, Gabe brought it all to life. I mean, he talked about color signatures with all the characters, and I think to a large extent that doesn't always happen where. You have somebody, and we talked about it before, how all four of us clicked on this book, and you can see it like with how much how involved Gabe was in terms of making sure that each character had a color signature, and his color choices for different scenes and different places was just fantastic. And I think that connection just kind of starts from the script forward for the rest of us.
So this is all really kismet that the four of you were put together. That's how it's done today, right? Adam, you were saying.
Thank our fearless leader, Mike Martz. He's to work with. I'll let you go. Sorry.
No, whoever wants to answer, go right ahead. Because being the layperson who just reads the books, it's interesting to see how you guys get put together on an assignment like this. I don't know how it comes together, but.
It's all comes from a laboratory and all from a laboratory in Mike Martz's basement. That's where we all came together. He created all of us.
Mad scientist Mike Martz.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But he was the guy. And I'm sure part of it was there is kind of a happy accident part of some of this. I'm sure Mike had respect for all of us individually, but all four of us have never worked together before. Obviously, Gabe and I worked briefly together on Barbed Wire. But all four of us have never worked together before. So the editor puts together the guys that he thinks will work together well, create a nice project. But really, some of that is luck. Some of that is you put these guys together, and whether they click or not, that just kind of happens. And fortunately for us, it happened on this project.
So I've lettered a couple of projects that Pat's done, but that's okay.
I did mention I've been doing this for 30 years, right?
So now you remember history, Sal.
Exactly.
Sal does a lot of books. By the way, we're on Rough Rider.
I do a lot of books.
I
actually, the like second the first piece of art for this book went online, I emailed Mike. I was like, Mike, I really want to get on this book. So I was just like, I love this premise. I love these characters. I've worked with at before.
I'm embarrassed.
That's okay. It was like short runs. I think on the Atom and
that's Rick Remender, right?
So yeah, that's okay.
I have blackouts.
Doing the Atom. Do you remember that?
The Atom was a short run, but it was cool.
That was fun.
Yeah,
I thought the lettering was the best part of the project.
Of course it was.
So was it a Ray Palmer Atom or a different?
It was not Ray Palmer.
No,
it was yeah. So it was
the other guy.
Yeah, I can't even remember his name.
I don't know.
But it was cool. But anyway, yeah, I really wanted to do this book, so I was like really happy when Mike came back to me and said that was a go. So I was like really, excited. Because me and Mike were actually, trying to hook up on a project as well. Like we've talked, I've worked with Mike extensively at DC. So when I was on staff at DC for a long time, I actually ran the lettering department. So when I came out on freelance and Mike, started with Aftershock, I was like, let's try to get together on a book. And it was just like, there's a lot of creative teams that come in with their own team a lot of times. So it's cool when, like you could get together like this because sometimes you need the crew to come together, and kind of like Rough Riders, I feel like is how we came together, for this project.
So you guys have mentioned this a couple times now about the camaraderie that you have with each other. And I believe someone mentioned that you guys haven't actually seen each other face to face. Is that right?
Yeah.
Nope.
So how did you guys develop that camaraderie that you have, that closeness that it seems very evident in the way you talk about each other?
Well, the email chains are just like so vulnerable is kind of a weird word, but they're just so open and they're so honest, and everyone's like, I don't know, respecting everyone, and everyone's so on fire and enthusiastic. I've worked on, you name it, I've worked on it. Star Wars, everything at DC. This is like the most fun and exciting, and the email interactions and talking with the editor and all that is just really positive and fun. We're all like football junkies, so during the NFL playoffs, we really started. When we first started Volume 1, we were talking a lot of football, and my Denver Broncos went and beat Pats Steelers. Yeah,
doesn't let you forget it.
Bronco fans. Talk about the Broncos I'll email Mike Martz all the time. It's like tradition with us. Okay, I'm working on page blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, I'm like, what do you think about Von Miller doing blah, blah, blah? Then Mike, give me a coherent answer. We talk a lot of Broncos. So I think football was an early bonding thing for all of us. So.
Yeah, I have 2 words for you.
Okay.
Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I wanted him or Bradley Chubb, and the Broncos got Bradley Chubb. So.
When you say football, you're talking about soccer, right? Because
yes,
I think I skipped all those emails.
I know what it is.
No Cosmo. They don't play anymore, right?
I went to quite a few Cosmos games.
No one knows who the Cosmos are. Like,
I was at like a bunch of Cosmos games as a kid, so I do remember them.
You're looking good.
Thank you.
I pegged you at 38 tops, but
42.
42, not bad. All right.
So I'm the youngster of the group. I'll be 40 in July.
You'll be 40 in July. Yes.
There you go. Well, I did mention that I actually penciled Tales of Asgard when I was 5. So I'm actually 32.
Okay.
That's some comic book math going on there.
Say comics make you young.
You got retcon.
Yeah, you got retcon.
There you go.
But something you guys are catching on to here, and one of the reasons when you asked me, I said I wanted to do this interview with all the guys was, it's a nice way to bring the book to a close and an end, and sort of the writers sometimes, well, actually, comic books, the artists get everything, but then the writers are.
Yeah.
And again, I wanted everyone to see what this team was, and the book would not be what it was if it wasn't for these guys. The end run was constant emails to each other, of like best ever, and buddy, and it was like, again, like it's crazy because we physically have never met. I mean, I've talked on the phone with Gabe, I've talked on the phone with Pat. Sal never takes my call, but
busy,
but again, to sort of, it's like, it is the best way to describe it is like being musicians and jamming, or athletes and playing. It's like you find a group of guys and it just all clicked. And I was always so excited to see the drawings and the colorings and the letterings and everything come in and all sort of come together. It's like Christmas every day when I would open an email, and see all that stuff. So again, can't thank these guys enough. And look, you got to give a lot of credit to Aftershock. They're making some great books. They haven't been on the scene that long, but boy, did they hit the ground running. And, a lot of that's Mike Martz and Joe Pruitt. Those two guys are, people know them. They have a great reputation in the business. They're comic book guys. And then they teamed up with Joe Pruitt and Lee Pruitt. And those guys brought a business angle to it. And, really rooting for them. I really hope that they continue to make great books. And, everyone keeps asking us, is this the end of the Rough Riders? As I like to say, it's never goodbye. It's just till I see you again. And I really believe, there's at least one more tale that we'd like to tell. And, down the line will be the secret mission, that nobody spoke of or something. And we'll get a chance to do this again. And, hopefully Gabe and Sal catch up with me and Pat and have a little gray in their beards by then. So
it's in there.
I got a little bit.
It's in there.
Well, then. Right.
Yeah, I've got a son in college here at CU, and then I got a daughter. She just moved to Hollywood this week. I remember we talked about that. So so I got
the oldest kid.
The youngest one, the boy, he's at CU Boulder, and the girl, she's 21. She's in Hollywood doing comedy. So she's been a stand-up comedian and improv since she was 16. She got accepted to everything.
Wow.
What's her name?
Her name is Minnie Eltaeb, and she is hilarious. So. Yeah, and Mad Magazine just engaged her to write like tweets and stuff for them, like jokes.
Great.
She's
Nice.
She's
Nice, yeah.
the Comedy Store, UCB, and the Groundlings. She's full-time comedy stuff. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Tremendous.
I drove up to Hollywood on Wednesday, and then I drove out to Colorado like 2 days later to be with my son. So I'm sick of driving.
What's really interesting, and I know this is a little off subject, but we've had this conversation before, Pat, and Gabe, I'm curious too. It's funny when you write comic books, how your kids' perception of them are. You know what I'm saying? Like how they turn around. And my daughter told me that she's 17, and she said, I used to go to sleep, and I'd wait to hear the keys of your computer because I'd always put her to sleep and then write.
Sure.
Or my son will look at drawings, and Pat, I know your daughter has the artistic gift that you have, and this book was one of those things too. Our kids sort of grew up the last 2-3 years while we were doing these books and really were engaged in the characters, and it got, so, I can't speak for Gabe or Sal. Do you have children, Sal?
I have a 4-year-old.
There you go.
Who thinks my only job is collecting action figures and buying him them. So
it's a great job to have.
You're like, in fact, this is his room. He sleeps in the corner.
Sal, just think when he's old enough, you can really, now you have these books so that you can teach him what really happened at Custer's Last Stand.
right, there you go.
This is the real history lesson right here.
That's right.
It's under the radar. There's too much going on in Washington right now. Everybody's involved with scandals. Nobody realized we gave the real story to the Battle of San Juan Hill and Custer's Last Stand.
Well, by the way, in this day and age, would it be that much of a surprise that Indians would get screwed and not get the credit they deserve?
Right.
Boy.
So, Adam, you mentioned, I think it's a bit of a surprise to me that the series is ending. Is that right? Is the issue that comes out this week, is that the final issue of Rough Riders for now?
Yes, sir. It is. It's the final issue for now. And like we said, again, sort of Aftershock's been really great, and we've left it open that down the line we can come back and do another story or two.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe you'd said that originally you had like a 4-part story in mind for this. And so we just have the 3rd part ending here soon.
But the good news is the fourth story takes place later in their lives, sort of the last mission, World War One. You know.
All right. Now that I have all you guys here together, I'm going to hopefully boost your egos even more. Because you can bring this to Mike Martz and tell him, bring it to the bank. If it wasn't for Rough Riders, I probably would never have picked up an Aftershock book.
Oh,
and it's because of Rough Riders that I sampled other stuff and kind of got on the Aftershock train. But it was
I've got
Rough Riders that did it. So call him up. Go ahead, Dave. Call him up and let him know that he's got to back that special ops fourth story that you guys have in mind and bring back the team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something we really want to do, but thank you for saying that. I think we were early in on Aftershock, and I think our book was sort of like the gateway drug, you know, for
I wouldn't doubt I'm not a unique story. I wouldn't doubt that at all.
No, you're not. I actually have a few friends that bought that book and didn't even realize I lettered it. Really? And that was their first Aftershock book. It was the first book that made them go, "Oh, this is cool," you know, right off the shelf. So,
aren't you credited on the don't they put you on the cover? They put you on the cover, don't they?
Nobody pays attention.
They put our photo in the credit. Okay. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
We all had to write a bio and send in a mugshot. So, that's cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's one of the things I like about the Aftershock.
My daughter took one of the first issues to school. She was 9 when I first started. She's 11 now, and I took the book to the school to show her teachers and everything, and and especially her history teacher, they all loved it. And then she turns over she turns to the back cover, or into the back inside cover where all of our photographs are and our bios, and she covers up the bios. And now it's early in the year; they've never met me, so she asked who her teachers thought which one of these was her dad. And it turns out, Sal, you are actually my daughter's father. Because
I'm sorry for it to have come out this way.
Because they picked Sal. Sal Cipriano is now the two my two daughters.
Toys, Pat?
What's that?
Does your daughter have a huge action figure collection?
It's actually mine. Yes, she does.
Well, I understand the concept of leave them wanting more. So if this fourth issue now coming out this week when we're recording this is going to be the last issue of Rough Riders for a while, you have left us wanting more.
Oh, you're going to want more.
Yeah.
Because we do.
We kept talking about when Pat draws the last page, like we were sort of all dreading it. And then, he did it. And then, he sent an email, guys, I just draw the last page, and it's so emotional. And then Gabe's like, I just colored the last page. Like I just lettered the last page. Like we felt like we were going through a goodbye, sort of.
Yeah, I'll know it's really final when I get that last paycheck for the fourth issue. So.
Whoa, wait.
I wasn't supposed to talk about that. Never mind.
What's going on?
Edit that out, Eric.
Yeah.
Well, that's really disheartening for as someone who is relatively new to the series. Like I said, I've only read the first trade so far. To know that it's ending for now, and it might be a while to get more. It's like a TV series that you discover, that you fall in love with, and it only was on for half a season or something, right? So,
well, you think about you still have 2 volumes of wonderful adventures ahead of you.
That's true. That's very true.
Read them really slow.
Yeah, one page a day.
Exactly.
Well, that's one of the things, Patrick, that I wanted to compliment you on is you talked about this, and I think Adam mentioned this earlier too. Is just the attention to detail that you have in this book. It's a feast for the eyes. I've read the book now at least 3 or 4 times in preparation to talk with George about it in general before we got everybody together. And every time I'm looking at a page, I notice new things, and I'm looking at the backgrounds, like Adam was talking about, how there's a lot of background stuff that doesn't get done in a lot of comics. And so as a reader, as an appreciator of comics, I love it when artists put in all those kinds of details, and the fact that you have these historical references that you deal with, that you put in the work. I just really like that a lot.
Do you want to? I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say I appreciate that, and a lot of it goes back to what we talked about earlier, being all of us having a love for history, and so a book like this is certainly in my wheelhouse. And when Mike Martz first, when I contacted Mike Martz, I had a project that was ending, and I knew he was at Aftershock. Contacted him. I always loved working with Mike. He was an editor of mine at Marvel and years ago, and he told me about this project. And excuse me, I mentioned it was a period piece, and then he said, "Is that something you'd be interested in?" I said, "I actually am reading a book about the sinking of the Lusitania as I'm talking to you." So, I mean, I think that's part of it, is that kind of love of the subject matter, the love of the characters, and the love of the history makes it easy to do the research, to look for the reference, to make it as believable as possible. And Adam was great when I would get a script. If he had found images, photos, that kind of thing that he thought were applicable to the scene, then he would include them in the script, which made my job a lot easier. So he would include things that he thought were important, some visuals that he thought were important, so that I can incorporate them into the story. And then I would do the rest of the reference searching from there. And it was fun. I enjoyed it. So I think it's certainly something that I clicked with pretty quickly, which made the desire to make this authentic as possible was there, I think, for all of us.
Can I give you an example of how much attention detail Pat showed? And this is not an illustration thing. In issue 1 of series 3, Roosevelt's walking his daughter down the aisle there at the White House. And I got the script and looked at it, and for some reason I said to myself, I wonder if dresses were white back then, because maybe they weren't. Maybe the tradition was different. So I Googled it up and found it, and I found out, dresses were blue. And I didn't ever tell Pat this, because like the next day I got an email from Pat saying, hey, by the way, they didn't wear white dresses. They wore blue dresses back then. And I'm like, holy shit, he looked it up himself. So he's paying attention to everything, So, but yeah, I didn't say anything, but I remember thinking, wow, he looked that up. And he didn't need to. He wasn't coloring it. So I was very, very impressed. But that was just par for the course with him. So,
yeah, one of the things that I think really, we keep bringing up characters. We wanted the characters to really be true. So, there's a lot of real history in it, especially in book 1. It's like, yeah, outside of an alien invasion, which, who knows, maybe, everything else about where the characters are at, who they are. Roosevelt was a super dark dude. You know what I'm saying? It's like he had this persona that he put on. And I always thought, even when I was a kid in college learning about him, I was like, oh, this is Bruce Wayne. This is Batman. He goes to the Badlands. He reinvents himself. He comes back, Batman's journey to become Batman. He's a rich guy who fights for the poor. And it's like, to me, I always thought, maybe Bob Kane and them thought of Roosevelt when they created this character, because there were so many similarities. But even something as small, not small, but small seemingly to the character, which is, he abandons his daughter when she's born. His mother and his wife die in a room across from each other. And he just is so taken by it and so destroyed by it. He gives his daughter over to his sister and leaves her. And it haunts him for the rest of his life. And Alice was no quiet little mouse either. She did not make his life, she was really the first celebrity daughter, to come about. But it's like, and that, by the way, you'll see all the way to the end of 3. That's a story that I always knew I wanted to tell. Is one of his regrets, which is, I wasn't there for my daughter. Powerful, great guy. But if you're not, if you're not a father to your children, then you have failed a little bit in life. So, it's one of his dinks in his armor. And again, Edison, history has sort of taught us as, this nice old guy, he was a SOB. He was the Steve Jobs of his time. He was an industrialist. He stole Tesla's stuff. He stole a lot of people's stuff, and that there's that great line in the Steve Jobs movie where he says, people play instruments in the band. I play the band, I play the orchestra. It's like, that was him. He said, look, I'm giving these guys all this stuff, so their ideas are mine. And then Jack Johnson, was such a brave guy to be doing what he did in his time, not just a boxer, but to be so out there and, and say, hey, it doesn't matter about the color of my skin. Look what I'm doing in the ring. And I'm going to do and live the life I want to live regardless of the consequences. And look, he's still being talked about today. Trump might pardon him because, and it's crazy that he still has impact to this day. And then Houdini, of course, you walk up to a little kid and say, Houdini, they know who he is, or they know magic, that your name forever, lives that long and is always associated with magic. It's just pretty amazing. And, I've said this over and over again in interviews. The person who surprised me the most was Annie Oakley, because I think I've always seen her as like, this character, the girl in the cowboy hat who was a sharpshooter and all this stuff. But more I read about her, she was a mutant. I mean, she did not miss. The Indians were so blown away by her. When she traveled to the Wild West show, they literally thought she was magical. I mean, she would hit 20 for 20 shots, 30 for 30 shots. She would never miss. And then on top of it, she's a feminist in her own way. She never goes out and marches or anything like that. But her life is just an example of feminism. In fact, William Randolph Hearst, who appears in, is it book 2? He Yellow Journalism. There was a woman arrested in Chicago for prostitution. His name was Annie Oakley. He knew it wasn't Annie Oakley, but he turned around and printed the story and put her picture in it. Well, she sued him. It took her 7 years. She sued him for the money and her reputation. She took on William Randolph Hearst. Wow. A lot of people would not have done, because to her it was about what was right. So she was a tremendous character, and yet she was an alcoholic, and we talk about her in that she was married. That is the one thing that doesn't come across in the book, because I wanted her to have fun with the boys. But she was one of the guys. She could take it and still be a lady, and was a pretty girl too, a very beautiful woman. So she was probably the most sort of surprise character that I didn't know anything about that I learned about. And again, I think the way she was drawn and the way we wrote her and the way everything like that, I know for a lot of people, she became a lot of people's favorite character. Yeah. Definitely sad.
No, for serious though, I love that all these characters felt real, not only to then but to now. It was very translatable, and the way you wrote it, Adam, was it just felt like, this felt like a really good, this could be a series right now, on TV, and totally kick butt, because it feels real. And a lot of people latch on to characters that are real. And I think, honestly, we've mentioned it before, there was, our email chain. You could sense that we're real people, we're not trying to cram anything down each other's throats, as far as what we think. And even though what you said about each of these characters gives them so much weight behind them, there was never one character that I felt was being preachy in the book at all. They were just being real to themselves. And when you're real to yourself, that comes across and that becomes very relatable. So that's what I really liked about both working with you guys and the book itself.
Yeah, I don't feel like you ever heard Adam have a character say a line of dialogue that was really just Adam spouting his politics or his opinion that he wants. It was no, that's the chickadees thing. It's that's Jack Johnson's voice in this book. He's Mr. Courage and swagger and kind of fun and playful sometimes and really brave all the time. So yeah, it was it wasn't forced fake dialogue to prove some point that Adam wanted to prove. They were real voices, which was amazing. So that's what I enjoyed about it so much.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I also, the thing that, and again, was sort of a happy accident. I'd like to say I planned it, but, in a way, having an African-American and having a woman and having a Jew, it was a very contemporary story to tell.
Sure.
Definitely.
Time, especially with everything that's happened over the last year. So, but again, happy accident. Did not sort of go, oh, I want to tell a contemporary story. It was no, I want to tell a story about these characters that I really respect and enjoy and like. And it just happened that it all worked itself out.
Wow, you guys have just described exactly everything I've loved about this work, and the characters are just wonderful, three-dimensional. That's the one thing I always respond to in comics is what are the characters like, It's not about the fantastic settings or whatever. It's always been more about character for me, whether it's the words on the page or the way the drawings are done, the coloring, the mood, the lettering, how that all works together in the wonderful magical way that comics work to bring a character to life to me. And this has just been a wonderful journey for me as a reader. And it really made me want to research these historical people more based on the work that you guys have done. I really want to now go buy a bunch of history books and read up on these characters.
Adam, you've done your job.
I've done my job. Yeah, look, I'm glad to hear that. These characters, we've lived with them, all of us, for the last 2 years. So they become almost like family. Like, I will miss writing Teddy Roosevelt. I will miss, writing, and also sort of the friendships that came. Like, I didn't start writing the book going, Houdini and Jack Johnson are going to become buddies. It just naturally happened. It was like one of those things. In fact, I shouldn't even admit this, but sometimes as writers, it's very rare. We outline everything. So we're always sort of know where we're going. A little bit with the first series, I sort of knew where I was going, but I wanted to also just have the process to let it go and see where it naturally went. And so I told Mike, look, here it is, but here's a rough outline, but trust me, I'll get us there. And, and in that journey, you discovered and you found things, And then, by the way, we're doing it so far in advance. Book 1 would come out and Pat would draw something, or Gabe would color something, and it'd make me think of something else for book 5 or book 6, So it was, again, us all feeding off each other's art and making more.
Yeah, I think art a lot of times is like a dance. The other partner will kind of do this, so then you go, oh, okay, so I'll do this, and then, oh, okay, so I'll do this, and you get that flow going, and you get in sync. You know what I mean? And like he said, you feed off of each other. You see what someone did, and you realize how you can complement it and add to it. So,
and the nice thing too with this group too is I think everybody felt that they were doing their best work. They had all connected with the characters. They were all doing their best work. Everybody was engaged into the project. But I don't think any 4 of us became so precious about our own work that we weren't able to listen if somebody had a suggestion or said maybe it should be this way. I think everybody decided that they were going to everyone had the attitude that they were doing their best work, but respected each other, that were open to changes, ideas. So I think that dialogue back and forth, or that willingness to be open with each other and know that if somebody said something, made a suggestion or asked for a change or a criticism or something like that no one would take it the wrong way. Everybody started off respecting each other and ended this project respecting each other. And I think that's made the whole process very smooth.
Yeah, that's just amazing to hear how, like I said, such a wonderful work is underscored by this relationship that you guys have as coworkers, as friends, apparently. And that just makes me as the fan, the reader, appreciate the work so much more. So thank you all for everything that you've done for this. I think we're out of time here. We were supposed to just talk for an hour and we've done so. Unless there's something else that you guys wanted to share about Rough Riders or your work. One last question, if you don't mind. Given that issue number 4, I believe, of the 3rd volume that comes out this week, the week of this recording, are there any plans for you guys to do something else? Not necessarily Rough Riders, but something else together? I
think we're all busy schedules and we want to. It's just a matter of figuring out another thing to do together that sort of fits for everything, timing, everything. So everybody's off doing other things. So that's always the catch-22. But I definitely will make it an effort to find a way for us all to work together again.
Yeah, I would love it. Yeah, totally would love it.
If I could just work with these guys the rest of my career, I'd be happy with that.
If you can make that happen, I'm on board.
So I don't know. I'm in.
Yeah, always.
Well, you talk about this special 4th story that may come down the pike someday, but you did tease a lot of things in your Rough Rider Nation book. So yeah, I don't know what kind of outlines you have for that, but we'll be waiting with bated breath for something out of that.
Yeah.
Well, listen, when we finally get the next one going in the next couple of years, we'll come back on your show and talk about it.
Excellent.
Cool. That'd be awesome.
Very much appreciate that.
Hey, Pat, I do have one question for you about your covers.
Sure. Yes.
The idea to go back and forth with the photo of the team was that your idea, or was that a collaborative idea where you guys suggested it?
Well, the original idea for the very first issue cover with the group shot, and they had the photo of them all holding the steampunk weapons and that kind of stuff. That came from Adam. Uh-huh. And I think that it really struck a chord. It became really iconic to the series. So it was it just kind of fit that it would then reappear at certain times throughout the series. But the original cover, which, like I said, is really became very iconic to the series. That came from Adam.
That came from the old Wild Bunch picture. Picture with the Hole in the Wall gang. And with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, another group that I've always loved. And around the same time, that sort of turn when you realize I can't live as a cowboy anymore. The world's changing, and the world I grew up in is sort of disappearing. Mm-hmm. So I love that photo and sent it as a sort of example to Pat. And then everyone got into it. Everybody's like, and then we got to burn the edges.
Yeah, it worked out great.
He had great ideas for it. And then we played with that image a few times. Actually.
Right, yeah.
Like the horror thing, I sort of had that idea. I was like, and we do the, sort of this third arc, and it's more of a supernatural story. Let's use that same photo, but let it be scarier,
Yeah, I love that. I just absolutely love that idea.
And then I don't know if this is what you were talking about. There was an actual photo that we took. Is that what you were discussing? I don't know if you ever saw that cover.
No.
Yeah, there's a cover.
Is that a variant cover or something?
Yeah, it's a variant.
Yeah.
Of a photo I took with a bunch of different actors and friends of mine, a couple of supernatural folk, and we did a cover and we dressed everybody up.
Oh man!
And we even did a video. We did a little promotion, which you could find online too, where actors actually play the characters. It was a lot of fun.
Oh wow! All right,
go look that up.
I'm going to try and do something here. Right here is my iMac, and right here is my Wacom drawing screen. And I brought up that issue 1 cover, and I originally colored it just normal, and then they had me make it like the old-timey photo. So I'm going to try and show it to you guys. I have to actually move the computer a little bit. And so let's see. Can you see anything here?
Yes.
This is terrible, but it's the best I can do for you guys.
I love that you brought your whole tablet on your road trip.
I do this all the time. And then I'm not getting it great in the frame here. Let me see. Oh, there we go. And then, so then I changed it to the old-timey photo by doing some stuff to it. So I know it's really bright in there, but anyway, when you mentioned that, I remembered I colored it once a regular way with some regular color, and they said, and then they had they wanted to see it as an old-timey photo. So, and I thought that was a lot of fun to do that, and it made a lot of sense. So, anyway, great. That was terrible imagery. I don't know what you guys saw, but
looked great to me.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time and talking with us. I really appreciate that. It's our
pleasure.
If there's places you'd like to point people to, the obligatory Twitter account or whatever it is that you would like to mention, please feel free to do that if you'd like.
Or promote away anything that's coming up outside of Rough Riders.
Exactly.
Yeah, gentlemen.
I'll go first. I guess my next project is I'm doing Scooby Apocalypse for DC.
Oh, wow.
I did a fill-in that was a ton of fun. They liked it, asked me to do more work on the book, so I said sure. It was a nice little experience to have, while I was working on the fill-in, and a drawing of the Mystery Machine on my board, and my daughter came in and went, oh, that's the Mystery Machine! So that was fun. So check out that. You can find me on Twitter at PatOlliffe65. And you can check me out on Instagram, Facebook, that kind of stuff. Next.
Hey, what you got, buddy?
Well, I'm on, since I have such a unique last name, I'm on Twitter and Instagram and everything with just my name. It's just Gabe Eltaeb. Eltaeb is Beatles spelled backwards, like the band, the Beatles. But it's not that I'm a Beatles fan. My dad's from Libya. It's an Arabic name. But I'm working on everything under the sun. What am I doing? Super Sons Dynamite. That's awesome. I just finished that with Peter Tomasi and Fernanda Passarin, and Eau Claire Albert is the inker. That was amazing. That comes out. It's like Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt and the Super Sons. That's fun.
That's tremendous.
Yes, and I did a Superman special with just Superman and his son on Dinosaur Island thing. That's really fun. I'm doing 2 issues of Harley Quinn. I'm doing Green Lantern. I'm doing Katana. But I really want people to go out and get Rough Riders. It's such a great book, and not for a financial sake here of sales, but sales to justify more series of this. You know what I mean? Because it's not fun to talk about, but it is a business. So if you guys do your job with the podcast and, can get people interested in this great book, then we can come back to it and stuff like that. And it just would be so great to go back to it because, as you can tell from hearing this interview, all 4 of us are on fire for this. It's and it shows in the work. And I know that doesn't sound humble, but it's true. So because we love it. That's why it's good, I think. So please buy Rough Riders. My kid has out-of-state tuition. So buy everyone you have ever known a copy of it.
By the way, when your daughter does her stand-up, she has a stack of books, right?
Yes.
Her CDs when she does those little after things.
Yeah, but I have to pay for the UCB and the Groundlings. I got to pay that tuition. So I got them. Right. So that's 2 copies for both kids' tuitions.
Right.
So,
Sal, are you just going to do a roll list of all your credits and things you're doing?
Yeah.
You know what you should do? Just name the comics you're not lettering. It's a much shorter list.
Now, I'm actually, as far as books that are out right now, like, it's really Detective Comics, Hellblazer, and then the 2 books I'm doing at Dark Horse, which I mentioned, the Karen Berger books, Hungry Ghosts and Matahari, and I got another one from them coming out. I got 2 books at Skybound that I can't talk about, and I got, like 3 other books that are like,
lettering my book, my creator one that I'm not going to plug it here right now, but it's done. The preview's done, by the way. I got the final pencils this week. So.
Oh, nice. I was going to ask you about that, actually.
Well, because if I can I go back to me and plug this, Sal? I'm sorry.
That's
my
okay.
friend Philippe Briones. He's a great illustrator for DC Comics. We did Aquaman stuff forever. I have a science fiction that I actually wrote, and he's drawing it, and I want Sal to letter it. So me and Sal will be teaming up on that. So nice. I'm coloring it and writing it. Philippe's drawing it. Sal's going to letter it. So because I love Sal's work and his professionalism. Back to you, Sal. Sorry.
No, that's cool. Yeah, it's like, I just have right now, it's like a bunch of things ended, and like I have a bunch of things coming out that you guys know how it is. It's like you're not supposed to say anything till something's announced. So, it is what it is, and I'm, constantly buying action figures and reviewing them on Ultrazilla Toys on YouTube if you want to check that out, guys. But I am also on Twitter at Sal Cipriano.
This is Adam Glass. I'm at Adam Glass 44. That's most of where you can find me. I'm doing Teen Titans. The special comes out in July with Robson Rocha. Am I saying that right? I hate when I can't say people's names right. And then this, what'd you say?
I think that's how we used to say it at DC.
Yeah.
In the office.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, the art that he's doing for it is amazing. And then that's June, actually. Then come July is the Teen Titans regular title that I'm taking over with Bernard Chang, the artist, and everything like that. Yeah, it's pretty killer, and the book's awesome. And basically,
if you need a letterer, you could request me.
I request both you guys. I keep being told you're busy. So I think you might have to call Mr. Brian Cunningham, John. So what ended up happening was, just the idea behind it is, Damian Wayne thinks he knows better than the adults and grown-ups, obviously not working. There's a revolving door at Blackgate and Arkham Asylum, and he decides, you know what, he's going to put together a new group of superheroes. He's sick of Dick's hand-me-down Teen Titans, and he wants his own generation, and he's going to put it together and sort of do things the way he thinks they need to be done. So super fun, cool book. And then can't say what the name of the book is yet. It hasn't been announced, but I'm actually, one of the things I'm loving right now is I'm about to do a book with my son, who's 14 years old.
Wow.
We sold it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's really cool. He has the wonderful gift of storytelling, and it's something him and I have been talking about for over a year. So just having a chance to work with my son is going to be awesome. So that's what's happening. And I want to say what Gabe said, we love Rough Riders. If you go out, you read it, you buy it, you talk about it. It's going to give us a better chance of doing another one down the line. So please, if you haven't had a chance, check it out.
Hear, hear.
Oh.
Yes, yes. And I say that very selfishly because I want more. So all the listeners out there, please go buy more Rough Riders. Once again, thank you so much, Sal, Gabe, Patrick, and Adam. George and I are beyond ecstatic that you guys agreed to talk to us. And we very much appreciate you taking the time to discuss your wonderful work.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. And again, thank you to the guys, to my team. You made this book one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I hope we all get a chance to do it again.
For
That'd be
sure.
awesome. Yeah,
Amen.
definitely.
Very cool.
All right.
My son has texted me. I have to take him out to dinner, the university student. So, well, I found out when parents come to visit, all the friends go, "Did your parents take you out to eat?" Because they're all sick of the cafeteria. So,
I'm taking notes. Eventually, it will be me, I guess.
All right, guys.
All
Have
right.
a good one.
Good night.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you
All right,
all.
thanks
Thank you
again.
very much.
All right, take care, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
George, wasn't that amazing?
It was great to relive it. I'm going to listen to it over and over again because, okay, first of all, folks, Eric, I don't know if this makes the final cut, but it was kind of funny to have eventually all of our Skype video pictures on the screen. I think I joked. I said, what did I say? That it looked like the Brady Bunch? I don't know if that makes it into the final cut. But you know what it really looked like now I think about it? It looked like when there are a bunch of politicos giving their opinion on what's going on CNN or Fox or MSNBC or whatever. And you have 5 people just straight across and you have the interviewer pointing, okay, Joe, what do you think about this? What do you think about what Sam said? Going down the line. That's what we're missing in the audio medium, that you couldn't see all of our pictures.
Right.
But getting back to the Brady Bunch comment, it is nice to note that Alice was there in the middle. Ann B. Davis as Alice.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Boy, I dated myself there.
Yeah. That was
those guys were awesome.
They were. Oh my God. They were so giving with their time and their enthusiasm, the information.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I beyond my wildest dreams, what I thought this could be. And so, George, thank you again.
Don't thank me. We have to thank all 4 of them.
Well, yes, but for me to you, thank you for pushing the boundaries with this possibility. So
I may have a still defunct podcast, but that doesn't mean I can't cause this kind of trouble. Mm-hmm.
That's a warning to me, folks. Just that's exactly what this is. So
hey, was there anything? I know there were we only had them for a limited amount of time, and we didn't want to abuse. Their time. But there were 1 or 2 things that I wanted to talk to them or ask them about. Was there anything that maybe you didn't get an opportunity to? Some burning thing that you wanted to ask them, or
I had about a page and a half of notes to exactly for those things, George. But what are the few things that you really wanted to mention to them?
Well,
or ask them.
Well, I did love the depiction of the characters, and I love how they mentioned how Adam especially mentioned the specific friendship that eventually evolved between Harry Houdini and Jack Johnson. I noticed that, and I don't see how a reader couldn't notice that. It was just interesting to hear how he really didn't have that planned. I thought that was an interesting thing. And anybody who's listened to my guest appearances here on Longbox Review or the still defunct but still available on iTunes George and Tony Entertainment Show,
plug,
they will know my disdain for evil rich businessmen, and to have Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Morgan, all these characters. Well, you and I were going to talk about Volume 1, so these characters figure prominently in there. As almost like the evil organization behind the scenes that runs everything. Kind of tickled my fancy. There was one little bit in Volume 1 that I specifically wanted to ask Adam about. I didn't have a chance. There was a scene where Jack Johnson teaches Harry Houdini how to take a punch in the gut.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody who knows anything about Houdini, that if I recall, well, actually, I shouldn't say anybody who knows anything because I'm going by memory here, but isn't that how he died? That he took a bunch of punches to the gut and there was a lot of internal bleeding and eventually that's what killed him. That's part of what killed him. I think that's what it was. I think it was because he would always challenge people to punch him because he could take a punch. And I think that, if I recall correctly, I think somebody just kept sucker punching him and just kept going and going. But I may be wrong about that. But he was famous for telling people to just give him punches in the breadbasket. And I thought it was interesting that Adam put in the story that he was taught this skill by Jack. I just found that kind of interesting.
Well, there were just so many things that I typed up all these questions because I really wanted to touch on certain aspects for each individual. And I feel like we gave Gabe and Sal maybe a little short shrift here. So, Gabe did mention this about how he gave each person kind of like their own color signature, right?
Yes.
And which I had noticed, but not to the degree that he described it. So I'm really glad that he had touched on that. But, I really wanted to talk to him or compliment him on the colors, the way he did the colors in the book. And, specifically, what was it? In volume 1's the only one I've read, but in volume 1, they talk about, there's the night and day scenes and the difference in coloring in those. And I just wanted to compliment him on that. And then there was he did talk to us about the cover there towards the end. And he actually showed us on Skype what the original cover, the original colors of the cover were. And then what he did to it, to get that, old timey, look to the picture. So that was really cool to see that transition. Unfortunately, the listeners, won't be able to see that, but it was nice for us to see it. And then Sal, I just really, there's a couple things that I wanted to ask him about one is, I really like, they talked about Gabe having each character have a color signature. I noticed that in the book, in the first volume, that I don't know if this was going to be the question. I didn't know if this was Gabe that did this or if it was Sal, but for the internal monologues of the characters, they were different. Not only were they different in color, but the fonts were a little different, or the little monologue boxes were done a little bit differently. And I wasn't sure if that was Sal that did that or somebody else. I assumed it was Sal because it involved lettering, but I didn't know. And there's just little things like that. It was like we just didn't get a chance because they were just talking up a storm, and it was the most amazing conversation to listen to. We were basically just spectators there. Flies on the wall, almost.
We tried to get these burning questions that we have about the creative process and about the book itself, but really it was just more important to hear them talk to each other and share those memories and share what they had to say to each other. And we got a little insight to their personal lives.
Exactly.
Too, which was fun.
Exactly. And really they answered or addressed in some fashion a lot of the things that I had questions on or notes about. So it turned out to be a nice happenstance, regardless of what I planned. So anything else, George, about that interview that you want to comment on?
The only other thing I would want to say here that isn't a question that I failed to ask. It's more of a statement and more of a compliment that I wasn't able to give, and that is I enjoyed, not only in volume 1, but in volume 2 and what is now volume 3 that's ending this week as of this recording. Adam can write one heck of a cliffhanger. And he really can get you coming back for more You really want to come back for that next issue, that next chapter. You read it in trade.
Mm-hmm.
I've read these month to month in the single issues, and I appreciate those cliffhangers that he would leave for us. And I am sad that there isn't more of this right now. But they did tease that perhaps there could be more in the future. So everybody get out there and get these the first 2 volumes, the 3rd volume if you haven't read it. It'll eventually be in a trade paperback format. Rough Riders, check it out. I will say probably the 2 things that attracted me to it were the cover. Obviously, the cover is very eye-catching. That first issue 1 of Rough Riders, volume 1. Very eye-catching, but the synopsis that solicit in previews, that blurb, whoever wrote that blurb did their job, because it got me, and I ordered that. And it was actually one of the picks. I remember that first issue of volume 1 was a pick of the week of one of the guys at my local comic shop.
Okay.
So I know they were trying to introduce other patrons to Rough Riders when it first came out, in 2016.
Right. So that's actually, this is a good segue. So volume 1, as I've mentioned, it's titled "Give Them Hell," and that's in trade, of course. Riders on the Storm is a 2nd volume, and that came out in November of 2017. And then Ride or Die is the 3rd volume that is currently ending this week, as you mentioned. So I assume the trade for that will be out later this year. And of course, since I have the first trade, I'm going to be getting the 2nd and definitely be getting the 3rd, since I unwisely, unlike my friend George here, unwisely chose to wait for a trade instead of getting it month to month. It's one of those comic regrets I'll always have, is like, man, I wish I would have been reading this all along. But the nice thing about this is that I have something to look forward to, that I know is good comics.
Yep. It's been a fun ride for these 2 years. So I've enjoyed, well, actually 3 years, but I've enjoyed it. And we can't neglect to mention that there was an annual after the first volume was over called Rough Riders Nation, which I'm not going to say who was in it, but let's just say it's a dossier of future versions of the Rough Riders, which of course leaves itself open to plenty of other stories that these folks can tell.
Yep. So this is my my call to arms to my listeners. Please pick this up, because as I said in the interview, I selfishly want more of this book, and so the only way we can get it is to get more interest in Rough Riders.
I know on your show you normally talk about process, and you have a lot of guest co-hosts from time to time. And I've heard other shows also where some people complain when an artist does something too photorealistic. Something that comes to mind very recently was a complaint of some artist who was doing a Star Wars book, and they said some panels look like they pretty much were they took a photo of Mark Hamill for one panel, yet the next panel looked nothing like the way they were trying to convey what Luke Skywalker looked like. Yeah. Whereas here, Patrick didn't do that at all. And I forgot if it was Gabe or Sal even mentioned that there was no change at all from panel to panel to say how say Teddy Roosevelt looks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Teddy very consistent.
Yes, and I loved the style of artwork for this book. It was perfect. Yeah. And even Adam had touched on it. There was an original artist that was suggested for this, and it just didn't work out. And we understand that everybody has a different style, and the stars aligned on this, man. It all just came together. Yeah. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's a great book, great ride.
It really is. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And 4 very personable guys, very friendly, and very open. And I would say, if there's ever an opportunity, if any one of them is at a convention or something, go say hello, because these guys are just friendly. They're beautiful people.
Well put. Yeah, well said. I agree totally. George, I have some things I want to touch on here before we get out of here.
Sure.
Did you know, George? I'm going to try to do this in the did you know vein of revelations. Rough Riders is one of the longest running Aftershock series.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Aftershock is about 3 years old. I think. I think they're. Oh yeah, they just had their third anniversary. So April of 2018 is their third anniversary. Rough Riders is one of the longest running series. They got some. Yeah, they got some others. Black Eyed Kids, Insects, and Animosity, and Baby Teeth. There's some others I think that are some longer running ones. I know that Insects was my first Aftershock comic. Just I love the way that looked, and I know Rough Riders. I like I said, I definitely looked at that and really wanted to read it, but for whatever reason, stupidly, I waited for the trade on that. But yeah, like I said, 3 years, and already, I mean, when I first started seeing Aftershock comics in previews, I'm like, where'd this come from? What's happening here? Because they had a lot of great creators coming in to do books, and it was just like, one day they weren't there, and all of a sudden, boom, here they are, and they are making a huge splash, right? And so they've already. I looked this up, George. They already have won a Diamond Gem Award for Best Small Publisher in 3 years. That's pretty damn amazing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that side of the business stuff. I don't normally take note of it, but well deserved considering all the stuff that I've seen come out of Aftershock. And, I hear other people talking about the Aftershock books that they read, the ones that I've read, obviously, they're just great stuff. And
if they haven't read Rough Riders, they better get on it.
I know, right?
Actually, I would hope that Rough Riders had something to do with that award.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. George, did you order this, the Shock anthology that was just released by Aftershock? So they have an anthology series. I think I ordered this. I'm pretty sure I did because I really like to read anthology series. And so this one has, I'm pretty sure I did because Neil Gaiman has a story in this. Brian Azzarello, Marguerite Bennett, Cullen Bunn, and Jim Starlin are all people that are involved in this anthology. So to me, that just screams, you need to take my money now.
Wait, no Rough Riders short story in there? Wait a minute.
I don't know. I
think they're missing. They missed a boat on that one.
I think Adam should have yelled louder at what's his name? Mike Martz.
Mike Martz.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's just some of the great things that Aftershock has put out in addition to Rough Riders. So
yeah, neat. The only other thing I could think of that I missed with Adam was the whole thing about writing TV shows.
Oh, right,
and, writing comics. He's not the only one who does that. We know of plenty of people who juggle, whether it be screenwriting, prose novels, and comic book writing. It's just interesting when one is a moonlighting of another. I know writing is writing, but it's got to be different when you're writing a screenplay as compared to a script for a comic.
Yeah.
And working with artists and colorists and letterers and things of that nature. That fascinates me, how people can make that jump back and forth.
Well, and that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask, have the occasion arose,
right.
But, it didn't really work out. So yeah, speaking of TV and comics, I pointed this out to you some days ago, but I wanted to just mention it here. On Mike, is that Adam also has another series through Aftershock called The Normals. This was sometime last year, 2017. I saw about a week ago before we got together for this, I saw a tweet of his where he showed a picture of his I guess his laptop showing a script, I believe it was a TV script. So he's adapting The Normals that he did for Aftershock for I believe television. And yeah, and that was one of the things I wanted to get to with him was asking that specific question about, has there been any interest about with Rough Riders?
Right.
Because this seems like at least a movie, maybe not a TV series. It would work great as a TV series, but I could totally see that first volume being easily translated into a movie.
Each volume as part of a trilogy.
Yeah.
At the very least. Yeah, it writes itself.
Right.
Come on, Hollywood.
Right. A Hollywood trilogy right there.
Yeah. I mean, do these Hollywood types really need us podcasters to tell them what's right out there under their noses?
Apparently they do.
I mean, Adam's out there in Hollywood. Come on, folks. Jump on this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, George, I'm coming down from my interview high.
Okay.
And I know it's late for you. As it always is when we talk.
And your listeners do not need to hear us anymore. In fact, if anything, they just want more of the four guys. So
yeah. So thank you.
And so do we.
Yeah. If you're still listening to us, thank you so much. I really hope I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation that the Rough Riders creative team, Adam, Patrick, Gabe, and Sal had with us, just kind of poking our or inserting our comments in on occasion, which was fantastic. So I really hope you enjoyed that. Thank you to those individuals. Thank you to Lisa at Aftershock. Thank you, George, for helping to set this up.
No
and George, let's get out of here. Remind the fine folks where they can interact with you on the interwebs.
Well, you know something? There's no project in the near future to take the place of the George and Tony Entertainment Show. However, the George and Tony Entertainment Show currently still lives on iTunes. We're still on the Realm Network site, so go to realmnetwork.com and go to the George and Tony page and check us out, or any of their other podcasts out there. And I'm still at George and Tony as a Twitter handle, and George and Tony Entertainment on Facebook, which, sadly enough, I don't go on Facebook that often anymore. So it's amazing how not doing the podcast anymore has changed my social media habits.
We should talk about this sometime.
Yeah, I don't know why that's changed, but I'm more on Twitter now.
Yeah. Well, and so I want to just let people know that you'll be hearing more from George in the near future.
Yes, please don't tune Eric out just because he has me on the show every once in a while. Please keep listening to the show, even if you have to skip that episode. But I try to make it entertaining.
No, don't skip it. So George and I are talking about actually doing the show that we originally were going to do and talking about Rough Riders because it's such a good book. So consider this interview situation a precursor to whet the appetite, so to speak, for that talk. And we have another thing planned that we'll be doing soon as well. So be sure to come back for those. And if you have any comments about this particular episode, things that you would like to say about the interview, things that you would like to ask the creators of Rough Riders, I'd be glad to pass those along, even though you can just directly tweet at them anyway. Doesn't matter. But anyway, if you have any feedback at all about this episode, please let me know. You can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. You can also leave comments at the blog, longboxreview.com. And as always, I am on Twitter at longboxreview. George, thank you again. And
thank you, Eric.
And have a great night. And I will talk to you very soon, as I will you, my fine listeners. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.